Share screen. Okay. Share screen. Yeah, got it. So, do you all have this document with you, week 5 and 6?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have.
Okay. In case we don't have, we can have also the look at the screen. Screen is shared. And if there are any kind of lagging questions from week 3, 4, or anything else, just feel free to ask. Or other case, then we can just go ahead with this document. Shall we go ahead with this?
Yeah.
Okay. So now the screen is here. Can you see the document?
No.
No, it's blank. It's black actually.
You can't see? Okay. I'm sharing it here. So it must be stop sharing, switch screen. Now?
Not for me.
Bulbul, you can't see the screen
No,
where I'm
not
sharing the
even me.
document?
Not
No,
even
I
me.
can't.
Okay. Okay.
I think it's okay if we have our own this thing.
ठीक है.
PDFs are there.
Fine. Fine. Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
think we can see it now. We can see your
Okay.
screen.
Great. Great. So just begin, like whoever wants to start with reading, we'll take it like paragraph or question by question, and then we can discuss in between. So who wants to go first?
I can read.
Yes, Pulbul, please. Hi, Ritu. So Ritu has joined.
Hi.
We were just
Yeah, hi,
beginning to read
Monica.
week 5 and 6
Hi,
reading.
Ritu.
Yeah.
Hi.
So yes, Bulbul, maybe you can start, and rest of us will mute ourselves.
Okay. Let me know if I'm clear. So I'm
Yeah,
starting.
so far you're audible. So far audible. Audible. Yeah.
Okay. So question, sweet mother, when we are faced with difficulty, what does this mean that the divine is trying to make us conscious of the defects of our nature? If you face it, yes. That is, as soon as you are in front of a difficulty, if instead of giving way like a coward, you begin trying to conquer it, then you may be sure that the divine is behind you. But if you are cowardly, the divine will not be there. That is, your cowardice cuts you off from the divine. But if you resist and want to conquer, you may be sure that the divine will be there to help you. There is not a shadow of doubt about it. Shall we discuss this before I go on?
Yes. Yeah, we can discuss this first. Yeah. So what comes to you when you read this? Whoever wants to share, what comes to you when you read this question and the answer, the response that mother is giving? Would anybody want to share the first part, the question and the first paragraph? What comes to you when you read this?
Monica, there's one thing which comes to my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts with saying if you face it. So whether I'm able to face it or I'm not able to face it, isn't it also the divine will?
Yeah.
I mean, the cowardice or the courage, wouldn't it come from the divine only? If I have the courage, it would be from the divine. If I act like a coward, even that would be from the divine.
Yes. Yes. And where does that leave you? If you have that belief that if I am acting cowardly, that's also
Yeah.
coming from the. Where does that leave you? How do you feel inside when you are acting cowardly? You are not able to face the difficulty, and you are putting it on the divine that it's because of the divine that I'm not able to face it. So where does it leave you? In what kind of a state do you kind of find yourself?
No, I think it depends on situation to situation. There might be some situations wherein we try very hard and still we are not able to face the situation. So most of the times, yes, we will be able to, but then there might be some situations where even if we try very hard, we might feel incapable of facing that situation. So there are people
Yeah.
who would be committing suicide or things like these. So we see in our surroundings there are some very strong people who we've known and who've always acted in a very strong manner, but then there are
Yeah.
some weak moments wherein they take such steps. So that's
Yes.
also a divine will, or that's like they were coward.
Ritu, we have been given something called as free will. Now, that
Yeah.
free will is something which has the possibility of getting us in touch back to our divine essence, which we anyway are, or cutting us from that divine essence. So, this free will is something on which divine does not exercise any control. So, that is
Okay.
what you are asking, your question. So, when I am acting bravely, it is my free will that I am choosing. Yes, I want to act bravely, and out of that free will only I am choosing in this moment I want to act cowardly, I want to be weak. So we don't realize that I choose, nobody is forcing me to choose, I choose. And this free will is, that is, the very name free will suggests that it's a free will, you have sole control over it. Divine does not exercise control over free will, and that is where we connect or disconnect from the divine, because using the free will I can act cowardly, and using the free will I can act bravely. So I am giving myself a possibility whether to connect with my divine essence and act from there, or whether to disconnect and act from darkness and self pity and the rest of the things.
Okay, so that means the
So
people
on
who must
free
be
will,
choosing to, yeah,
yeah, on free will divine does not exercise control, because that is the beauty, otherwise everything will be fixed. If the divine exercises control over each and every action, then there would be no joy, no variety, no movement, the variable movements that we have. So free
yeah.
will has been given to us so that we can change our destiny at any point of time when we choose to exercise the
Okay.
free will. Yeah. What were you saying?
So, like, let's say somebody gets into a weak moment and they would like take some extreme step or something. So that means they did not use their free will well.
Exactly, exactly. You just said it rightly. They weren't even aware that I have this possibility that I can use this free will, whether to follow darkness or follow light. We have this free will each moment of our life. And it's just that we are not even aware that there is something called free will. We think that this is the pattern my life has taken and I just have to follow it blindly. There is nothing can be done.
But Monica, in the last session wherein we were reading the material, it said that if you've chosen to, if you've by your own, if you've faced a situation well and you come out of it, then you should not feel, okay, I faced it or I
Yeah,
kind of was strong enough. Because if you
yeah.
start thinking like that, then again you get into the same circle of
Yes,
not
yes,
surrendering. So if I have a
yes,
free will and if I choose to be strong and because of my strength, if I'm able to face a situation well, so
yeah.
even then also I shouldn't feel that yes, my free will did a good job.
Yes, But how did your free will did a good job? Because you connected the free will to courage. Now courage is something which is divine in nature. Courage and love and power and bliss and knowledge, all these things are coming from the divine. So when you are choosing your acting from your free will, which is connecting you to courage, it was the courage that helped you in the situation.
Okay.
So, and the other part that you are imagining here is that this I that chooses, that is the whole culprit, in the game. Because the moment I separate this I, that I chose and I know the best, the moment I separate it, I cut myself from the sun that gives me energy. And it is totally again on your free will that you can choose. Yes, I want to follow the I, but then the responsibility is completely yours. Or the blunders, all the life situations are totally yours. Yeah.
So
Then
even
you
if I
cannot
choose
bring
my
divine
free
in
will
the
well,
picture. Yeah.
even then also I shouldn't take the credit.
Sorry.
Even if I choose my free will well and come out of situation, even then also I should be thankful to the divine for giving me that courage.
You shouldn't be, not at all. You try it, Ritu, try it in little experiments and see what happens. So imagine that there is a small day-to-day life situation, and you
Yeah.
recognize that, okay, now I can choose which way to go. You chose that the way with the right attitude, you choose it, and later on you feel it about yourself that yes, I did it. Just do it for a couple of days and you will know the sequence of events. You will know where you are feeling right and where it is not feeling right. So it's about an inner feeling, and there is no should at all. Nobody is forcing you that you should be thankful. In fact, a thankfulness or a gratitude that comes by force is not a thankfulness at all. And the divine is not waiting for our thanks. I can be sure, you can be sure about it, that the divine doesn't wait for our thanks, कि आदमी कब मुझे thanks बोलेगा.
No,
Not
it's
at all.
not about the divine waiting. It's about the last reading which we did, which said that if you again start thinking, okay, because I chose this path, that's why I am probably out of the pain and suffering, then that means again you're back into the same circle.
See what is happening, why you are back into the same circle. There is sun, okay, and there is a plant growing. Now the plant does not even know what all the sun is providing, and it is growing, it is thriving. Now one day plant begins to have a mind, and it begins to think that, oh, I am growing myself, like I am capable of doing it all by myself. And it says, yes, I can do it all by my own, and I am ready to walk on that. And the plants walk on and finds itself in a dark tunnel. Now suddenly when it finds itself in the dark tunnel, only then it realizes what the sun was actually doing for it. What kind of growth, what kind of nurture sun was providing it. So it's like, everything is connected. Plant and sun are part of one nature. Nature means divine. It's all one movement. So the ego, that is I, and the divine, it is one movement. It is not separate. The problem comes when the ego resists and says, no, I am separate from the divine. There is something called divine and I am something else. Now this separation that cuts you from your source itself, that becomes a problem. So when you are saying that I am exercising my free will and I am the one and I don't need to be thankful to anyone, I think it's totally your free will, yes, and I'm not going to stop you not to follow that. But then the repercussions are completely yours. Then divine cannot come into picture and you can say, it was all that you did, because it was only I that existed. So you will be solely responsible for all the things in life. So if you are ready for that, go ahead and take the leap. Yeah, then divine will not come in the picture. Then it will stay away because you are pushing it away. And divine is nothing but your own source of energy. Divine is not a separate being or a separate person. You are cutting your own source of energy, and that is why suicide, that is why depression. Because I don't want to receive the light. I am saying that, I am enough, I am capable. So just follow your capabilities. Then no one is going to interfere at all. Then the responsibility of my life is completely mine. So if you are ready to take that burden, I would say give it a try. No one can stop you.
I really enjoyed the connection between courage and divine, because in most mainstream ways of how divine is perceived, they ask for obedience, and here in this text they're asking for courage. So that was something I really enjoyed reading,
Yes.
that you have to face it with courage, and then you will find the divine. If you are being covered, then even if divine is there, you will not see.
Yes.
Like
And in fact,
in the
Sneha,
so that
courage is also a part which is very, very strongly connected with love. So love is also an aspect of the divine, and courage is absolutely connected with love. So people who are ready to look at their own weaknesses and then try to perfect them, it requires a great love and great courage. So love and courage both go together. Yeah.
thank you.
Anyone else on these whatever we were discussing? Okay.
Monica, when you say covered,
Yes, yes.
I mean, sometimes if say logic has to come into play here. For example, I'm giving you a very
Yeah.
hypothetical example, but it's just come to my mind. Suppose there is a fire in a building and there are people inside, and something inside me says that, oh, I should maybe go inside and save them, but the fire is so bad, there's a good chance I'll get completely burnt, and I have no experience in that, so it logically may not make sense, but something's
Yes.
telling me to do it. And I know that firefighters can come in there and do this job, but they're not there at that moment. And so that is risking the people's lives in there. So now, although the voice inside tells me to go and save them, I'm risking getting completely burnt because it's that bad.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what do you do in that? Do you go with logic or do you go with your voice?
Yes. So good. Yeah. Reggie, what happens is there is no one kind of a formula for courage. For example, at one point of time, courage may mean that I don't leave a person that I love, right? There might be a situation that it's very, very important and it requires a lot of courage to be with the person I love. I am having a hard time, but I am being courageous enough because I know it is important. I feel it is right. It is coming from my inner truth. At other point of time, it may be very, very courageous of me to leave that person whom I love, because I feel that my inner truth says that this is the right thing to do. So courage, don't go by the social kind of media moved images of courage, that if you only jump into the water to save someone, that is only courage. Sometimes to stay back and to hold yourself for jumping into the water, that is also courage. So inner truth is different in each moment, and it will depend totally on situation to situation, person to person, what is the inner calling right now for me. So the question that you are asking, I cannot answer that, because in that situation, what is the inner calling of that person, who is, what is the background, what is the history of that person. Only on that will depend what is the inner truth. So whether courage is holding yourself back from jumping into the fire, or at other points courage can be jumping into the fire, but both are acts of courage.
Okay. No, I
Yeah.
thought about that because the act of saying no and act of saying yes can be both courageous depending on the situation. That I
Yes.
completely understand and agree with because I follow that rule for my life. But in a situation like this where it's so dire and so desperate, in such an emergency situation where it is do or die, and then
Yeah.
you're caught in that moment, you can't even think straight. Like the situation you
Huh,
mentioned earlier
yeah.
about being in love with somebody and hanging on to that. I've actually been in such a situation, and I've hung on
Yes.
despite me going through trouble. I hung on because I
I
felt like, but in a situation like this, it's where it's a split-second decision. Where
So,
yeah.
more. So you went to therapy, and then, are you on medication?
sorry.
Okay. For how long?
I think Bulbul is talking to someone else.
Okay.
I'm going to mute Bulbul. So yes, I understand, Reggie. Yeah.
Right.
I
I was
wasn't
wondering. I was
able to
like,
I
make
think
sense.
this
So are you
conversation
on
is taking a
medication?
this conversation is taking a turn. I was wondering, what are we talking about? Okay.
Yeah. So the situation that you are referring to, Reggie,
Right.
there would be a lot of history coming into the picture. Who is that person who is going to jump into the fire? Is he a master? Is he a guru? Because if he is a master, he should not be jumping into the fire at all, because he is responsible for 2,000 other lives. So there are so many things which
Right.
will be joined in this, and there is no one answer to that. So inner truth, it will depend on the inner truth of the person in that moment.
Right.
That
Okay.
will be the courage act of courage. Yeah.
Okay. That,
Nehal.
Yeah, I had two
thank you.
questions
Thank
actually.
you.
Is it
Yeah.
that fear gives rise to cowardice? Does it
I
come
think
from fear, or where does it come from?
so. I'm not able to understand. You are asking if cowardice comes from fear?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Uh, you can take a few kind of practical situations from your life so that we would better understand it. If you can take
No,
a
because
situation.
I'm not getting anything, but I just wanted to link it up in this way that if there is somebody in whom the cowardice or being coward is a sort of nature of that person. So usually nature is built up out of long-term experiences of the life or maybe many lives, and it becomes a part and parcel of you. And even if you know, you might not be able to remove it. So is it that there can be cowardness as a part of your sanskar or a part of your nature, and that's not allowing you to do something? Can that be that is possible?
So Nehal, if we go there, because everything we are is a part of our nature. Nothing of me is not a part of nature. We are full of nature. But if I begin to use it as an excuse that cowardice is a part of my nature and I cannot do something about it, I think then we are in a big, big, big trouble.
No, so
It's
then
like a
that is
trap.
where I
Yeah.
am linking it up with that if something is like being coward is a part of the nature, then maybe that person is becoming coward out of long rooted fear inside the person. And I don't know what can be the possible causes of it, but maybe there is something deep rooted which the person might be fearful about, and that is the resulting expression is coward. So
Yeah.
then how that person should deal with this? How can
Yes,
that
that
person become
now.
courageous?
Yes, yes, yes. So that person will have to wake up to his free will. He will have to realize that cowardice is not my nature. I am choosing cowardice at every moment. I am not even aware that I am choosing cowardice. As if it's a default mode, robotic mode that is going on. A default like a slope, like you are on a slide. Kids, slide on this thing in the park. So you don't even know that you have the possibility not to choose cowardice. And just by being aware of this fact that yes, if I wish to in this moment not go by cowardice, just little by little, by taking those steps, being aware that yes, pausing for a moment and seeing that yes, it is a possibility. I don't have to do what I have been doing for 20 years. It does not matter if I have been doing it for 20 years. Now I can change my life. Now I can connect with courage. So that possibility has to come in front of that person. He has to see for himself that free will is a possibility. And that is how you change it's like, a habit is formed. And now you have to reverse that habit. So I am so used to be acting cowardly because I have been choosing to acting cowardly. The only thing was that I was unaware that I was choosing. I thought it is my nature. And that is why mother says when you say it's a part of nature, you are actually rejecting free will. You are saying, मैं तो कुछ कर ही नहीं सकता, I can't do anything, it's my nature. So you are removing free will from your sight, and you are saying that I don't have any option, I have to follow cowardice. So here you reject free will, and you reject also the divine essence by saying that it's my nature and I cannot do anything about it. And that is the task that we human beings have, to change the nature. So all of us have many weaknesses in our nature, as you are saying, coming from sanskars and everything. The very joy of being human is to slowly pick up those instances where I feel weak and to turn it around into a divine thing, to turn it around into a courage, into a bravery, into truth, into joy. That is the whole purpose of evolution. Otherwise, there is no fun in being human, and no wonder that we are suffering so much, because we don't take it that way. The moment I begin to take it in this way, that whatever comes in front, I have to turn it around if it's giving me pain. If I begin to do that, it's joy, it's progress, because soul loves progress. Soul is here, taken human birth only for progress. And the moment I become to get stagnated in a routine, in a nature, I became, I suffer. And it's a very good signal from the soul that, hey, I'm not getting the progress I wanted. Where are you getting trapped? That is the signal from the soul that, hey, you feel that suffering within you. There is no joy in life. You have to really push yourself to get up every morning and push yourself to go to job. Just soul letting you know that this is not the way I want to manifest myself. I want to progress. I want to turn things around. And suffering is only a signal. Yes. Any comments on that?
Do you think self-confidence is needed for being courageous, or it's a part of courage?
Yeah,
How should we put
self-confidence.
self-confidence?
I think you don't even have to use that term self-confidence. I don't find it very interesting. Why would you use term self-confidence? Yeah, I mean, courage will be coming from there only, because I know that I have faith, self-faith maybe. I have faith that yes, no matter if I fail, I want to try it. I want to give it a try, no matter I fail. So if you want to call that self-confidence, maybe, yeah, but they are both connected. So courage is connected with very much with self-confidence or self-faith, faith in oneself that yes, I can do this, I can take this forward. Yeah. So let us focus on the first half that Bulbul read. So somebody is asking mother that when we are faced with the difficulty, does it mean that the divine is trying to make me conscious of the defects of our nature? So mother is saying yes. If you face it in that way, then yes, because then I take everything as a means to progress. This was the weakness that came out through this situation, and now I want to turn it around to the divine. Now I want to turn it to the light. But if you act like a coward instead of conquering it, then uh, mother says that you cut off the divine. Now how do you cut off the divine? This is how you cut off the divine. Courage, as I said earlier, courage, progress, seeking for perfection in oneself, uh, joy, truth, all these are divine qualities. If I run away from these qualities, if I run away from courage, if I run away from truth, if I run away from life and move towards death, then I am cutting myself from my divine essence, because I am not acting according to that. So that is what mother is saying, that I've just written something here in the red out of somewhere. So just a comment I added here, that you are buying into the belief, a limiting belief of weakness, that yes, I am weak. So you are completely buying yourself into that belief. that yes, I am weak and it's my nature and I can't do anything about it. Now this is how you cut yourself from the source. Okay. And the other thing I copied and pasted from Mundaka Upanishad, which says Nayam Atman Balhinen Labhyate. It means जो आत्मा है, जो सोल है, वो उसी को मिल सकती है जिसमें बल है. बलहीन को आत्मा भी नहीं मिलती. Because it went very well with what mother is saying here. So it says, English translation is, the self is not gained by the weak in body, mind and intellect or spirit, nor by the insincere. Now here is what mother refers again and again. Be sincere. Look what you are holding on to. Look what is your ego now getting into trap. Look your hidden agendas, hidden manipulations. That is being sincere. So nor by the insincere, nor by those practicing unintelligent austerities, those rituals, monotonous rituals that we get stuck to. But self is gained by those wise men who strive with vigor, attention, and prosperity, attain union with the Brahman. So they connect with their divine essence only because they did not feel that they are not worthy, they are very weak, and buying into all these dark thoughts. So if we really want to connect back to our true essence, it is very, very important to follow our inner truth, inner calling, and not to compromise on inner peace and joy. I think we do a lot of compromises just to make others happy. How would people be thinking if I am doing this, and all these kind of thoughts. So we do compromises in that, and we compromise our inner peace, we compromise our inner joy, we compromise on life, and we kind of collaborate with falsehood. We collaborate with people who are disconnecting us from our inner truth, and we say yes, you must be happy, I am ready to suffer. This is how we disconnect ourselves from the divine essence. And we can see that those people who want to push us into these kind of things, and to please those people, we accept that okay, I am ready to suffer, but you must be happy. They'd never get happy. Because this joy is to be found within. So no matter how much you are compromising on your inner joy to keep anyone happy, they will never be happy. Keeping themselves happy is their own inner space. They have to do that. You don't have to feel burdened with the responsibility that you have the responsibility to make others joyful and peaceful and happy. No one can do that. No one. Yeah. So then further, would anyone like to read after the first question?
I can read.
Yes,
Sneha.
Yeah.
Okay. But I want to know if the difficulty comes, whether the divine is trying to make us conscious that we have defects. Whether he deliberately puts difficulties in your path? No, that's not the way. Physical suffering. 3 stages of its schooling. Pain is the touch of our mother teaching us how to hear and grow in rapture. She has 3 stages of her schooling. Endurance first, next quality of the soul, last ecstasy. As far as moral things are concerned, this is absolutely obvious. It is indispensable, indisputable. All moral suffering molds your character and leads you straight to ecstasy when you know how to take it. But when it comes to the body, it is true that the doctors have said that if one can teach the body to bear pain, it becomes more and more resilient and less easily disrupted. This is a concrete result. In the case of people who know how to avoid being completely upset as soon as they have pain somewhere, who are able to bear it quietly, to keep their balance, it seems that the body's capacity to bear the disorder without going into pieces increases. This is a great achievement. I have asked myself this question from purely practical external standpoint, and it seems to be like this. Inwardly, I have been told this many times, told and shown by small experiences, that the body can bear much more than we think if no fear or anxiety is added to the pain. If we eliminate the mental factor, the body left to itself has neither fear nor apprehension nor anxiety about what is going to happen. No anguish. And it can bear great deal. Should I just read even the next three small ones? Or
Yes, Neha. Yes, Neha.
yeah. The second step is when body has decided to bear it. You see, it takes the decision to bear it. Immediately, the acuteness, what is acute in the pain, disappears. I'm speaking absolutely materially. And if you're calm here, another factor comes in, the need for inner calm. If you have the inner calm, then the pain changes into almost pleasant sensation. Not pleasant in the ordinary sense, but an almost comfortable feeling comes. Again, I'm speaking purely physically. And the last stage, cells have faith in the divine presence and in the sovereign divine. When they have this trust that all is for the good, then ecstasy. The cells open like this, they become luminous and ecstatic.
Thank you, Sneha. Beautiful. So this paragraph, I think, holds a lot of, it has a lot of things for us to follow, in fact, practically in our lives. So let us just go through it. So, see, I'm sure, we all have gone through painful experiences in life. So this is more about also physical pain. So maybe your head is hurting, your back is hurting. And here, I think a mother is saying that you don't even know how much you are able to bear unless you are given that load. So, for example, if I'm gymming in the gym, unless I pick up a 200 kg kind of a dumbbell, I know that I'm exaggerating. How would I know that I am able to pick it up? Only by slowly increasing my kind of capacity to endure pain do I get in touch with my own perfection of holding so much of strength. Because more pain, more strength I get in touch with. I don't even know that I have, see, if I'm kept like a very delicate flower, I would be always in touch with very, very little strength in me because I'm never given a chance. The more someone puts me into the mud, the more someone kind of thrashes me, kind of pitoes me. Only then I realize, अच्छा इससे भी कुछ नहीं हुआ. Still I am alive. अच्छा अभी भी मैं जिंदा हूँ, अभी भी मैं जिंदा हूँ, अभी भी वो spirit है. So the more you are kind of bearing, especially physical pain and also emotional pain, the more you are able to bear it, more you get in touch with the strength, the amazing, intense strength that we all are. Again, that strength is connected to the divine essence within. So, courage, love, that love is, that strength is very much connected to the love that we are. So solid that we are that we don't even know because we don't even give ourselves chance to know. So the more pain comes in life, it's okay. Mother is saying that it is the touch of our mother teaching how to hear and grow in rapture, because the more I connect with my strength, inner strength, I have a rapture within, I connect with a joy within. Although that painful time is there simultaneously, but I see that I can be separate of pain and there is so much strength inside and I can be still alive and enjoy little things in life. So that strength comes only into picture after I have been through pain. Okay. And then, as mother is saying here, that it is true that doctors have said that if one can teach the body to bear pain, it becomes more and more resilient. So imagine that there is a tree, and it's living in surroundings where tsunamis come. It's living in surroundings where tornadoes come, all kind of natural calamities. Now two things can happen. One thing is that the tree is uprooted, or the trees adapt to that situation, and they become even so strong in their rooting that they become more and more capable of withstanding tsunamis. This is what human spirit is about. It's capable of withstanding so much only because it has to realize that it is very, very strong, not to live in that weakness, that fragility of our being. Yeah, and then further mother is saying that if we avoid getting completely upset, now it has to be developed as a habit, that whenever I have a headache next, for example, if I have a migraine, I have a habit of having migraines, and whenever the next migraine happens, then this time I want to try this what mother has suggested, and what I do is that I don't lose my balance. I stay within an inner poise, just like maybe remembering mother all the time, and I don't lose that balance, that calm, that poise within. So mother is saying that if we are able to do that, actually, then the pain diminishes. And I'm telling you from my practical experiences that this happens, and it's a beautiful experiment if one wants to try this. Whenever physical pain happens next, try to do this, that don't lose your inner calm. Remember the mother again and again, again and again. Don't focus much on the pain part. And you see very much that the balance kind of, shifts from the pain to now a kind of a peace and calm within. Because now you are giving that energy. You are not energizing pain by focusing on it. Yeah. And that is what mother is saying here, that when the body has decided to bear it, okay, I have a headache, I have an intense pain in either the heart or my back or somewhere in the body decides to bear it, says, yes, I will go through this in faith. And immediately the acuteness of the pain disappears. Now, this will be only words for those of us who are not yet trying it. So I would say, do this experiment like a scientific experiment and see the result for yourself. So here mother is stressing again and again on the need for inner calm. Now from experience again, I'm telling you that this can be practiced as a habit. It does not happen instantaneously. That you are in a big trouble and now you are needing inner calm and then you try it. It will not happen that way. So what you have to do is, those days which nothing much is happening, regular kind of days, so called, those days you try to establish this inner calm within your body. Call peace, call mother, and feel that all the cells of the body are kind of bathing in peace and inner faith and in presence of the mother. Only then, when the intensity of a situation comes in front, that you are in need of a big action and a tsunami kind of a situation is happening, then you will be able to call inner calm. Otherwise it will not happen. Just like that, it will not happen like magically. So it needs to be kind of practiced. This faith has to be injected into the cells of the body. So anything on this paragraph from any of you?
Monica, since you've gone through pain and then you've dealt with just from your experience, so I mean, this is a strategy that even I use to when I'm in physical pain, to bear it, to overcome. But does it also help, in your case, did it help accelerate the healing process as well?
Reggie, I am sure it has a play, a very, very important play. What percentage, I don't know.
Okay.
And again, as I said, there are so many factors that I cannot say that which contributed to the healing. I'm
Okay.
sure it did a great deal. And 2017 I had been last to the doctor, and thankfully by the grace of the mother I had never to see the hospital again.
Okay.
After 2017 I never went for a scan, I never went for the regular screenings, checkups, anything. So I'm not sure what exactly it is, but
Right.
this part, because this is directly connecting me with the grace of the divine. And
Right.
only divine grace has the power to change things, to transform things.
Right.
So I'm sure this has a lot of part to play.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Not sure
healing
of
is right. But healing is inevitable in that sense. It is
inevitable.
ourselves.
Yes, yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
How would you put the psychosomatic disorders with respect to this? Like
Yes.
we
Nehal, a bit louder.
yeah we like study in science that there are a lot of physical issues which are actually not having any physical cause. It's because of
Yeah.
your mental condition, so they are labeled as psychosomatic problems or psychosomatic disorders. And there are also a lot of idiopathic diseases which also do not have an labeled physical cause for it. Now,
Yeah.
in that condition, that means that there is some kind of mental factor which is playing role. So,
Yeah.
in that reference, how this endurance and all can work, because your root causes are somewhere lying into your mental aspects. So, if
Yeah.
you are going through the pain, which is coming through your some no cause is actually mental, it's no more like it's giving a result in the form of physical aspect, but it's coming from the mental issues. Then how
Yeah.
are you going to utilize this endurance aspect and all?
Yes. So, Nehal, I like to, yeah, here mention a little story. So, I was doing PhD in autoimmune diseases. Okay, so I was studying multiple sclerosis, which again is an autoimmune disorder, and myasthenia gravis, which is again an autoimmune disorder. So, what happens, I'm sure you know, but maybe for others, in autoimmune disorders, the immune system, which is supposed to defend me, it begins to attack me. So it is not able to differentiate whether what I am attacking is my own part or a stranger. So the immune system begins to attack my own body as if I am the stranger. Okay. And I would say that towards the end of my PhD, I was kind of really disillusioned, because I was seeing that just by doing these experiments with the cells of the person, just checking them objectively, I am not going to find a cure to this illness, because autoimmune diseases are highly prevalent in females, especially. Now, if you look at how females are or have been treated throughout eons, we have never respected our boundaries. We have let everybody kind of trample in our fields. आओ जितना अत्याचार करना है करके जाओ. So what has happened because of, this is what has happened. Look at our Indian families, very good example of how people trample into your inner space. So there I was kind of beginning to realize that there is so much uh, emotional part that has to be taken into consideration, and there is no, it's not a possibility to find a cure solely by scientific research, and not including the emotional and mental aspects. So what that lady who has this autoimmune disorder is going through emotionally at her place is a lot, plays a lot big part. So I would say almost 95% or even more of the illnesses are psychosomatic in origin, because we don't preserve our inner space. We let everyone, just come to our khet and trample it. So saying no to people who disrupt that boundary then becomes an act of courage. That is an act of love. No, saying no, that I don't want to do this, what you are telling me, though I love you, but I don't want to do this. So, and we females have a very, very big issue in saying no and protecting that inner boundary. And that is why autoimmune disorders happen more. I feel, it's again one of the theories that I have in my mind, that is why autoimmune rheumatoid arthritis and all, they attack more women, because they don't preserve their inner space, inner sanctity, if I can say. So the immune system now, which is the army for my own defense, is now confused. No, it's saying, everything appears strange to me. There is no person that I recognize here who is not a stranger. So it becomes to attack, because I never created that boundary where I say that, yeah, this is a part of me and I want to preserve its sanctity, the inner temple, the inner peace, the inner joy. And then the immune system goes just, berserk and haywire.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, if not any questions, then let's go further. Are even physical sufferings ascribable to the ego? Who would like to read? Would anyone want to read it? The next paragraph?
Can I ask one more question before we go
Yes,
on?
yes,
It's continuously coming to me. Like here
please.
we are like going through the pain, and we need to develop the endurance towards the pain. So that our strength can increase, and we move better and better, and progress of the soul will take place. So then there are number of such kind of sufferings which cannot be allowed repeatedly. So it would be too much to repeat those kind of sufferings. And the body, and even at the mental level or the emotional level, maybe it's not possible to repeat that kind of actions. Then how we like we can put this that
Yes,
uh,
yes.
if pain and
Yeah,
suffering is good for increasing the
yeah,
endurance.
yeah, yeah. Very good. Nehal, thank you for asking that question at this juncture. Because, mother has said that one must not have a liking for pain and suffering. See what is happening. Pain and suffering at the moment in human evolution is an inevitable part. Okay, we cannot say that we cannot have. We have pain and suffering. Now, what happens is that whatever comes to me, I take it as a prasad. Now, what happens with prasad? You don't ask for more. So, pain and suffering, when it is happening, you are not saying Bhagwan or de de. Just because I want to, work with my strength. So you don't have to develop a morbid attitude of, liking and intensity for pain and suffering. Whatever one has to go through, one goes in faith, and through that strength develops. हमें कोई यहाँ पे हल्क नहीं बनना है, strength develop कर करके. So, so the thing is that whatever pain and suffering, if it arises, then I go through with, in faith. And whatever strength it has to give me, it gives me. It's not that in seeking भगवान strength दे दे, you're asking भैया और pain दे, जरा अभी मजा नहीं आया, थोड़ा सा कम मजा आया. So it's not like that at all. Whether it's pain or joy that is given, it is taken as a prasad. It's divine prasad. Take it and be content. Don't ask for more. Yeah.
Yeah, but is it not like that each suffering and pain, after all, brings some sort of experience, and that is a
It
kind of
does.
learning for us.
It does.
So what
It does.
I understood till date, or believe till date, is that unless and until you have really learned the lesson from that experience, that part is not going to go away. So
Yeah.
it keeps coming to you. So in that
Yeah.
reference, we are like pushing ourselves towards more pain if we are not learning the lesson.
Totally.
तो
Totally.
मैंने तो फिर यहाँ फिर मैं आई एम गेटिंग कंफ्यूज्ड हियर. सो इफ
Why
आई
are
एम
you
पुशिंग माई
getting?
सेल्फ टुवर्ड्स द suffering more and more, then that means I'm not gaining
No,
any endurance.
Nehal, stop just right there. See, now what I am doing is I am very, very stubborn that I am not going to learn the lesson. I am not going to learn the lesson. I am not going to learn the lesson. And I'm inviting pain again and again. So, who is stopping you to learn the lesson in the very first go? Who is stopping you? Why are you
Yeah,
saying
but
that I don't have the courage with sincerity to look what is the matter actually? And that is why the importance of honesty and sincerity.
yeah, but there can be people who are ignorant about the fact that I'm not learning the lesson, and maybe that
No.
is why there is a repetition of the whole story.
So there comes the manipulation of the ego because it's want, so see, the ego wants to live its old ways. It has no intention to change. Okay?
Okay,
It
yeah.
has no
I think
intention to
everywhere
progress.
this ego is the major
Yes,
major
yes,
thing to deal
everywhere.
with.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. The whole crux of the matter actually is that the ego has to go away and completely dissolve, kind of become like a really, very thin, delicate curtain, which is readily transferring the divine light through it. That is the whole crux. And all these situations, all these granth that has been written, over centuries are only about that, because ego is a very, very strange, complex thing. It comes up everywhere. It's very sticky in nature. It sticks to everything. So that is the whole game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So ego, if I'm asking pain more and more, so just remind yourself that my ego is getting stuck to a belief or stuck to a point that this is how life should move, and it is not moving that way. And that is why I am ready to invite pain and suffering. I am ready to commit suicide, but I will not change. I will not transform. I am ready to give up this life, but my ways should be the ways. This is how strong an ego is. Mahathagni, Mahathagni. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. Who wants to read?
Maybe Nehal, you want to try reading this one? This is
Yes,
on
Nehal.
ego itself. This is on ego itself. Next. So it's
Good
apt.
one.
Okay, so are even physical sufferings ascribable to the ego? Physical sufferings? One thing is certain, I think this was in the system, in the nature, that it was invented as an indicator because, for example, if the body was disorganized in some way or other and this caused no suffering at all, one would never look for a way to stop the disorganization. One thinks of curing an illness only because one suffers. If it caused you no unpleasantness, you would never think of being cured of it. So, in the economy of nature, I think that the first purpose of physical suffering was to give you a warning. Should I go ahead?
Yes, go
Unfortunately,
ahead.
unfortunately, there is the vital which pokes its nose into the affair and takes a very pervasive pleasure in increasing, twisting, sharpening the suffering. Now, this deforms the whole system because instead of being an indicator, something it becomes an occasion for enjoying the illness, for making oneself interesting, and also having the opportunity to pity oneself, all kinds of things which all come from the vital and are all detestable one more than another. But originally I think that it was this: take care. You see, it's like a danger signal. Take care, there is something out of order.
Isn't this beautiful? I mean,
Yes.
I read this paragraph and I, kind of keep on falling in love with what mother says again and again. This is really the crux of everything. Beautiful. So mother is saying that, see, the body is giving you a signal, hey, something is out of order. And now you need to correct it. So a symptom comes in my body, and I realize that there must be some mental, emotional, physical imbalance that is caused. Okay, and what I do is, the way to go ahead in very objective terms is, go ahead, try to fix it, correct it, and listen to the body. Now, what happens is, this vital part, this is a beautiful thing. The vital part takes pleasure in this game now. Now it becomes a kind of a, it becomes a thing to live for. Now if I was not getting attention earlier, now I make the disease that now people will come to visit me, and maybe I become more important. I was not important in all these years, but now I can maybe become more important through this disease. So the vital supports the disease now. The vital collaborates in the disease, so that the disease does not go away from the body. And this is how ego, takes a perverse, as mother says, that ego perverts it. हुआ क्या था, डिजीज आया ये बताने के लिए कि भैया समथिंग इज आउट ऑफ ऑर्डर, correct it. Now we begin to do, हाय हाय मेरे साथ क्यों, this is all part of the vital, कि ये मेरे साथ ही क्यों हुआ, the victim, तूने किया या मैंने किया या किसने किया या पुराने जन्म से हुआ या किस जन्म से हुआ, all that belongs to the vital. Why me, why this is happening to me, मैं ही मिली थी क्या भगवान को, all these kind of things which pervert are coming from the vital. So that is why mother has said that vital is a very, very good kind of a servant, but it is a very bad master. See, there is a lot of energy in the vital. Vital means which gives vitality, which gives life force. So all this energy which now I am wasting in why me, the blame game, all that energy, if I turn the events around and go to the divine, become a servant, all the enthusiasm, that zeal, I can put as a divine servant and do the divine work. That is how powerful the vital is. And people who have a very strong vital, who are strong emotionally, they suffer the most. But when they are ready to surrender, then they can become a beautiful servant of the divine. Because all that energy that earlier was getting wasted in suffering, now can be put into the divine work very, very objectively. So that is, the beauty here in this paragraph, that in the beginning, the physical pain or illness comes only as a signal that, some harmony is not there in the body. Some mental, emotional, physical aspect is kind of delineated, de-aligned. The only thing is, fix it. See what aspect in mental needs fixation. See what aspects in emotional needs fixation. Connect yourself to the divine, back to the divine, if you have disconnected. Now, this is how we need to take it objectively. Okay, so mother is saying it was only a signal. The thing is that the vital pokes its nose, and then it becomes an occasion for enjoying the illness, for making oneself interesting, and also an opportunity to pity oneself. So whenever we seek attention, either by pitying ourselves or wanting attention from others, it is the ego which we are feeding. Ego wants attention. A servant of the divine has no need for attention. So whenever you see yourself, it can be very, practically used in our daily lives. Whenever I see myself wanting attention, seeking attention, I can be sure that I have again slipped into the ego area, disconnected myself from the divine. Yeah. Anything from this part? If not, then I would like maybe who has not read so far, maybe Ritu has not read and Preeti has not read. So Preeti or Ritu, whoever is available right now, if you would like to read this paragraph, if at any time a deep sorrow overwhelms you. Yes, Preeti.
Yeah. A message to rekindle hope in the hearts of those who suffer.
Not
Before
one.
sorry?
ये वाला लेना आप, इसके उसके बाद वाला है ना जो if at any time a deep sorrow overwhelms.
Which page?
Just after that, the next topic.
So next topic. Next topic.
No matter,
Okay.
what I'll do, I'll maybe, can you see it on the screen?
Yeah. I can.
Okay,
Okay.
fine.
So, if at any time a deep sorrow overwhelms you, if at any time a deep sorrow, a searing doubt, or an intense pain overwhelms you and drives you to despair, there is an infallible way to regain calm and peace. In the depths of our being, there shines a light whose brilliance is equaled only by its purity. A light, a living, unconscious portion of a universal Godhead who animates and nourishes and illumines matter, a powerful and unfailing guide for those who are willing to heed his law, a helper full of solace and loving forbearance towards all who aspire to see and hear and obey him. No sincere and lasting aspiration towards him can be in vain. No strong and respectful trust can be disappointed, no expectation ever deceived. Suffering is not something inevitable or even desirable, but when it comes to us, how helpful it can be. Each time we feel that our heart is breaking, a deeper door opens within us, revealing new horizons, ever richer in hidden treasures, whose golden influx brings once more a new and intenser life to the organism on the brink of destruction. And when, by these successive descents, we reach the veil that reveals Thee as it is lifted, O Lord, who can describe the intensity of life that penetrates the whole being, the radiance of the light that floods it, the sublimity of the love that transforms it forever?
Yes.
Should I go ahead?
No, it's enough. Maybe first we can discuss this and then let's see. So anything, any comments or any observations on this paragraph?
Two lines stood out for me. One was that whose brilliance is equaled only by its purity. And the second one is just a moment. Intensity of life that penetrates the whole being. Yeah, I mean, it is enticing to experience just by the description of how it's written. You know, intensity of life that penetrates the whole being.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to share how beautiful it is.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Sneha. Anyone else? Any lines that's like just like Sneha shared, any lines that attract you much than others? Or maybe nothing attracts you at the moment, that is also okay.
I feel like this little paragraph in here, each time we feel that our heart is breaking, a deeper door opens within us, revealing new horizons, ever richer in hidden treasures, whose golden influx brings once more a new and intenser life into the organism on the brink of destruction. I think this epitomizes the entire point here, because every time this happens, it's such an opportunity to literally regrow. Every time you have a heartbreak or anything of that sort happens, it's like a cleansing in a way, because you can come back out with a new vigor, a new you in a sense. And every time I've gone through heartbreaks. Every time now, when I look back at it, it was such a big opportunity for me to kind of read myself and come back a different person, literally. So this is for me. This is what summarizes the whole thing. Yeah.
Yes.
This is experienced by many. Like, you know, this when somebody gets blocked completely and feel it, you are not getting any solution, and suddenly you get something coming out of it and you are relieved in a moment.
Yeah.
At that time,
Yeah.
everybody must have felt this particular paragraph. You have never
Mm.
thought this is the solution, and you're wondering how smoothly things got solved out, and you're literally getting the relief out of that whole issue. And I think that is what this is also very intense,
Yeah.
because it tells you how intensely you feel the pain within you, and then only the new things come out of it.
Mm.
Just
Mm.
like this
Beautiful.
pandemic, like I have like read a lot that pandemic is bringing a devastating disaster because something very new has to come. So it's just like that.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
gets broken down within you very badly, and then you come out in a very different shine.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. See, even the way the universe has been created, kind of, the darkness came first. So, if we go by the story of creation, first came the darkness, which became the womb for the light to happen, the other manifestation. So, darkness, whenever we are going through darknesses of all sorts, in the body, in the mind, and emotions, if we just have a little bit, very little minute faith that yes, this is going to bring me something new, show me something new, just a little amount of faith, that is enough, because it means that I am in touch with that little amount of divine presence. And divine presence is something like, whether it's like 10% or 1%, it is divine presence. So it does not matter whether it's 10%, 100%, or 1%. No matter if I am if I am being able to touch only 1% of that faith, that yes, something new is going to come out of this darkness phase full of suffering. I think that really helps kind of sail through that difficult period. And once you are out of it, after many years, as Reggie said, you look back after on your heartbreaks and you see that what beautiful opportunities they were. But while the heartbreaks are happening, then this complete view we don't have usually. So this complete view comes only after we have transformed into a new being, and only then we can have a look back and realize, oh my god, what a blessing it has been to go undergo those heartbreaks. In fact, at this instance, maybe let me share a very little story of Sri Aurobindo when he was in Alipur jail. So he was at his peak of career in freedom movement and doing a lot for the freedom of the country, and suddenly he was put into the Alipur jail because of some happenings. And then he says that, uh, I have you have no idea what good my enemies have done me, because I always had this intensity that I want to be with myself and give more time to find the divine presence within. And just because my enemies have put put me into this jail, I don't have any other option. So I just have to go within and connect with that divine presence. And there in Alipur jail, he had the darshan of Sri Krishna, and he kind of became his friend forever after that. So in if we take things in that kind of an attitude, that no matter what I have to go through, something beautiful will come out of it, then it gives us that strength and that endurance to even go through. And then after that, maybe after some time, if you have this right attitude, the need for the pain and suffering diminishes, because you have got your lesson, you have connected yourself back to the divine. What else is needed? So all the pain and suffering then is not required to teach you a lesson. The only lesson is that the ego connects with its source. Why is it suffering so much when the source is available? The only lesson is that. And yogis and maharishis who had to go through other kind of physical pains and suffering, they had other reasons. Because, for example, in case of Sri Aurobindo, he actively kind of perpetuated a disease during the last phase in his life, because he wanted to leave the body and he wanted a reason that now the body must go undergo a disease, so that it's kind of gone and I do the work from the other realms. So when we talk about yogis and sant and mahapurush, we don't know what the reason is for their physical pain. But for us, mostly it is just to get out of the trap of the ego and live a blissful life, try to live a simple life and enjoy, which we have forgotten to many a times. Yeah. So this is the crux of, I think this is the key. This paragraph has the key which is to be used throughout our life, that if any time of my life a deep sorrow overwhelms me, I don't have to go outwardly to seek anybody help or anything. I just have to find that light within me. And by own experiences, by practical experiences, I'm telling you, it is possible. And that is the only reason that the suffering, emotional suffering, exists. Because it was like a magic how my suffering completely disappeared only when I was able to get a little bit of hint of this light that shines within. So if that little hint can do wonders, if we can give more time to it rather than expecting things from outer people's situations, give more time to this inner presence, give more time to inner seeking, connection with the divine presence within, I think we can really do magic with our lives. If we really wish to, again, free will. Free will comes into picture. Yeah. So I think we have had enough of reading today. Lots of things to discuss. If you have any questions or any comments, we can take. Otherwise, we say goodbye for the day. No questions? All resolved. Let's pause the course. Maybe we'll take up next year.
No, a lot of things to read and digest first.
Yeah, yeah. I understand. So okay, then all the best for the further reading and connecting deeply with oneself. I think that is just the key. One doesn't need to read much of Upanishad and Ved and Gita, at all. If one just picks up a very little kunji, a very little short key that Mother has given us, connect deeply within as much as you can. I think we are set for whole life. The only thing is that the ego or the mind goes back to seeking those things again outwardly. So they have to be brought again back inside, and kind of like a little child who is ready to walk up again. So he has to be brought again within and focus, give more time to yourself, maintaining this inner poise, staying within your body, within your mind, within your emotions, not going outwardly all the time, to people, to situation, because we have done that enough. It's not that we have not experimented with it. Although it's completely again up to our free will whether we want to further uh, extend that seeking outwardly, or do I want to use all that intensity now for the inner seeking. Totally up to us. And that is why in the beginning I said, how much this course will, I think somebody of you were asking the question, will that course solve the miseries and suffering? Totally up to the free will. Nothing can, force you to do that. Only you choose. And there the divine is really kind, because he is a very kind parent. He never lets the kid under a pressure that yes, you have to go to the school, yes, you have to learn the lesson. He says, see, it is in your hands whether you want to learn the lesson or go through all that you are going through. So yeah, we decide, we choose. Okay, all the best. Thanks for joining.
Okay, see you. Bye,
See
Monica.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
Monica. See you. Bye.
Bye.